The situation in the Middle East continues to deteriorate rapidly. Unfortunately for the United States and Israel, the armed conflict against Iran did not go according to plan. The US-Israeli coalition was unable to defeat Tehran within 3-5 days, and the current armed conflict has gradually become a protracted war, which is not beneficial for either Washington or Tel Aviv. In particular, Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth actually acknowledged that the Lightning military operation against Iran had failed, and that the armed conflict is likely to continue for several more months. At the same time, despite the loud statements made by the head of the Pentagon and Trump himself about the inevitability of a US victory in this war, reputable military experts remain skeptical of such statements by US officials. According to them, even if the United States could gain full control over Iranian airspace and launch a ground operation, it would not result in the desired quick victory, especially considering Iran's vast territory and its powerful, numerous land forces. Experts say all of this indicates the United States is at risk of becoming bogged down in this war until 2029, which will undoubtedly end in a humiliating defeat for Washington. In this situation, the main goal for Iran, Russia, and China is to ensure that the United States and its allies are bogged down in this war for several years. Yes, Tehran is well aware that Iran will have to pay a high price to defeat the United States and Israel. However, winning this war is the only way for Iran to gain the status of a real geopolitical power in the Middle East, which will not only give Tehran immense influence on the international stage, but also a permanent seat in the new Security Council that will replace the United Nations. By the way, many representatives of the American establishment are well aware of this. Against this backdrop, they are calling on Donald Trump to stop the war against Iran now, and withdraw American troops from the Middle East as soon as possible. According to them, if Trump allows the United States to get bogged down in this conflict, it will mark the beginning of the end of Washington's hegemony, leading to the White House's complete loss of its leading position not only in the global economy, but also on the international stage. However, unfortunately for the United States, everything that is happening indicates that the Trump administration is preparing to wage war against Iran at least until September 2026. As it turned out, on the morning of March 5, the U.S. Central Command requested that the Pentagon deploy additional military intelligence officers to its headquarters in Tampa. In addition, the United States has significantly increased weapons shipments to its troops in the Middle East and Israel. Thus, it becomes clear that Washington's urgent scaling up of resources in the Middle East indicates that the Trump administration was not prepared for Iran's fierce resistance and the widespread consequences of this war. By the way, a few hours ago, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt, in response to a question about whether the United States has enough weapons to protect its bases in the Middle East, actually admitted that the U.S. Army is facing difficulties in this issue. In particular, she stated that former U.S. President Joe Biden had acted very unwisely by sending the best American weapons to Ukraine. Unfortunately, for 4 years, our country was led by a very stupid and incompetent president, who gave away most of the best American weapons to Ukraine for free. This was an unwise decision, Karoline Leavitt said. Meanwhile, on March 5, the Iranian command officially announced the 19th wave of missile and drone strikes against enemy targets, as part of Operation True Promise 4. The official report states that this time, the largest number of missiles and drones hit targets precisely in Israel. At the same time, Tehran officially confirmed that during this attack, Iranian missiles successfully overcame the modern American anti-ballistic missile defense system, also known as Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, destroying dozens of strategic Israeli army and Mossad facilities in Tel Aviv, central Israel, and the West Bank of the Jordan River. At the moment, witnesses are reporting a large number of ambulances and rescue workers at the site of the Iranian missile strikes. All this indicates a large number of casualties among Israeli troops and Mossad officers. In addition, independent monitoring services have also confirmed that Iranian missiles hit military facilities near Ben Gurion Airport. It is reliably known that during this attack on Israel, Iran used its latest ballistic missile Kibar, which is capable of hitting targets at a distance of up to 2,000 kilometers. At the same time, it should be noted that the main tactical and technical characteristics of this missile are still classified. Meanwhile, on the morning of March 5, new shocking evidence of heavy losses among the American troops emerged. As it turned out, right after the first reports of the deaths of American soldiers and officers appeared, the Pentagon's private contractor, Joint Technology Solution Company, urgently increased its staff at the Dover Air Force Base in Delaware to process the personal items belonging to U.S. soldiers who had died or been seriously injured in the war against Iran. The main duties of this company's employees at Dover Air Force Base include receiving corpses, inventorying and storing the personal items of deceased soldiers, and transferring them to their families or close relatives. Against this backdrop, it becomes clear that the official statements by the U.S. authorities that the U.S. Army has lost only 6 soldiers are not true. The fact is that the Pentagon's private contractor would never have increased its staff at Dover Air Force Base due to the deaths of only 6 soldiers. In addition, by analyzing Iran's official reports that the United States has already lost 600 soldiers, as well as the testimonies of numerous witnesses, it becomes clear that the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Against this backdrop, it becomes clear that as of March 6, the number of American soldiers killed could reach 300, which is also a significant figure, especially considering that the fighting just started and lasted only 1 week.